Glad to have you. And we're broadcasting live on Facebook and, of course, HamiltonRadio.net. And I'm really thankful for this opportunity and platform that we can use to get a greater word out and greater teaching out that goes beyond what your traditional understanding is in the typical church or any spiritual setting for that matter. One of the things, Dr. Will, I wanted to talk to you about, and we had a little debriefing yesterday, but one of the questions that really sticks out in my mind from people who have come up in the traditional church setting or any type of traditional religious setting where they've been indoctrinated to believe a certain theory or dogma that teaches them what salvation is. Uh, the first question I want to ask you it was actually a two-part question. Is Christianity the only way to salvation? And if that is so or not so, what is the understanding of true salvation? What is that?
Excellent question, my brother. That has been, as you know, that is the central thing, the foundation of every debate. It comes down to this, character or the biblical, certainly from the West and our culture, Jesus Christ. And everybody, or most people, struggle with that because we're taught and we're, coming up that is the only way. And as you know, with my background, I came up, I was, taught the same way. And I got to a point after basically being raised all my life and then actually being a minister for over 10 years, licensed ordained minister in a traditional, non-denominational church. I didn't have any systems that worked. I was left with what I call dogs that don't hunt. Mm-hmm. I was not able to actually produce any fruit. The scripture talks about Jesus said, "These things I have done, you shall do even greater things." So I was looking for people who were doing those greater things, and I couldn't find them. And so right. After many years, I'm embarrassed to say, I guess I would classify myself as a slow learner, but eventually I got it. And I turned my back on everything that I was ever taught. I did something that's similar to you, what you did, which is I advise everybody to do. Start over. And for me, when I started over, my life changed on January 1st of 2009, as all my clients and listeners know. From that day to this, brother, my life has never been the same.
Wow.
We did the exact same thing that you did. Mm-hmm. I just said that God is God. If you are who you say you are, and obviously you know me better than I know you. So you have to present yourself to me. I went to Hebrews 6:1, 6:1-3, as members of my organization know that is the foundation of everything I do. I'm paraphrasing. I would encourage everybody, don't believe that, not say, look it up for yourself.
Absolutely.
And it talks about, let us go on past the basic teaching of Jesus Christ to be crucified. It also lives for laying on the hands, baptism, blah, blah, blah. It tells us to let us go on to perfection. Mm-hmm. It says to leave these things behind. I haven't been able to find a preacher yet that can tell me or explain to me what the Hebrews 6:1 means. So I endeavored to find out what it meant, and what I found out what it meant was, as you know, that everything that we've been taught is exoteric and esoteric. It has an inside and an outside meaning.
Right.
So everybody got the outside meaning, but very few people understand the inside meaning because
it's
of
true.
perception.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world that is controlled by language. I love the fact that language is based upon words that's based upon definitions. Mm-hmm. And the word definitions is DEAL, D-E-A-L, definitions. Mm-hmm. And when we look at the ancient text in the Greek, especially the Hebrew or even the text, we look at this word, the Bible itself says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God and the Word was God. So we need to start there with words. And what you will find out, I'm an etymologist. I'm a functionally literate, actually. Mm-hmm. So I have to look up all my words. When I share with all my clients, your problem is your purpose. Your problem is your problem. So I'm monetize my problem. But right. To answer the question specifically, if we do not understand what I have inside our 40 Facebook person, it's the biological proof of Christ. And I break down laminin, I break down the Hashim, I break down certain biological things that we have inside of our body. I also break down computers. I talk about how to program a computer using something called a computer language. And you get the code.
Yes.
And that's what the Bible is. The Bible is a code, but we don't have the right language.
There you go.
We got definitions,
That's
but we
it.
got the language. If you get the language, so we got to go back to code wire to find out what is the code.
What's the
so
code?
That way we can decipher or dissect this. But the problem that I see, brother, is I started off like everybody else debating and arguing and fighting over the text.
Mm-hmm.
The fall, Adam and Eve.
Yes.
I studied Islam, I studied Sufism, Brahmanism,
Mm-hmm.
Kabbalah, Hinduism. I studied all of that stuff, and everybody was debating over the fall. Then I got into church, and then people were debating over what you talking about, the rise. How do we
Yes.
how do we activate? Do we activate our Kundalini? Do we activate the 12 strands of our DNA?
Mm-hmm.
Or just the 2 strands? We're debating on the what and the how, instead of figuring out again, what is the origins of this condition? How
That's
are we
it.
in this condition? And then how do we get out of this condition? Because everybody I know, they're arguing, well, I never choose option A or option B. Because everybody told me that we live in a world of duality or based on the law of polarity. So when I was
Right.
in Genesis, I realized that they ate from the tree. It was one tree that had 2 different types of fruit on it. I can't find that in biology or in nature nowhere. But in any event, we got a tree that has good and a tree that has evil. Now, we
Wow.
those are our options. But there was another tree in the garden, it was the tree of life. And the character called Yahushua, or Jesus Christ, he came that we may have life and life more abundantly. So I started looking at life. And I got into cellular biology, I got into histology, I got into understanding the basics of biology. Because as I learned, when we look at a horseshoe crab, that is hemocyanin, it's not hemoglobin, it's blue blood, that is biological proof of my belief system. Then I looked into a firefly that has something called cold light, or not, but it's not. And then I got into understanding bioluminescence, and I wrote a book about it.
Wow.
Then I understand that there's a gene called luminescence. There's the word luma or lucer or luciference. And it's it's interfering with light. And I got into another gene called oxylumopherous. And all of these words either have phosphate or lucifer or something that has to do with this quote unquote light bringer or light bearer.
Light bearer, right.
And then that gave me the biological proof that I needed. I wrote a bunch of books about that. Then I got into over an understanding, my brother, that this is all an allegorical story that whether we debate about whether or not there was a physical man who walked the physical earth and get all of the physical characteristics of Jesus Christ, I never debate. If someone wants to believe that, that is great.
Right.
I just ask them, what is going to believe after that? Does that belief help you to your life? Does that belief
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Does it prevent diabetes? Does it prevent you from getting cancer? Does it make you a better father? Does it make you a better son? Does it make you a better husband? Does your belief system work? Does it actually give you some things that you can use in your life? Because the Bible says, "You shall care that we may have life
and have it more abundantly." Right.
Not only in this world, but also in the world to come. So for me, the light bulb really came on when I found all of the science that proved my spirituality.
Wow.
I just had a bunch of real and no knowledge. Once I started getting some knowledge, and with all this zeal, and this knowledge was scientific proof, and I encourage, and I plead, and I challenge all of my listeners to prove me wrong, to do the research, to go to the Greek and the Hebrew, go to the Paleo Hebrew, look at the cuneiform text, look at the Texas receptors, go all of these ancient documents that you can find, look at the science, look at the biology, especially look at the science when we're talking about light, the electromagnetic spectrum. All of this that proves the existence of only one way to call devotion, which is basically understanding that our heart emits 100 times more electricity and magnetism than our brain.
Yes.
The only thing that basically exists after we exit, or if you were to take away your five senses, what would be left? And that is what I call shareable experience. Only what the Bible says, only what you do for Christ will last. That means that thought, that experience is something that you're not ashamed of. It's something that you can share. And then it goes on and further, man, like all of the scriptures in the Bible immediately point back to the understanding or the answering of the question that you just asked. And that is, when the Bible talks about, walk in the spirit, and you cannot or you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Right.
That is language. So what we be talking about is language. Because if you could understand how computers work, you could understand how God works, how salvation works.
Wow.
How do you save a document when you type it in on your computer? How do you boot up a computer? What is the computer operating system? What is the language that runs that computer?
The language, right.
That
right.
must be a language. If you don't have that language, that computer doesn't respond. And we're talking we got the wrong language. And everything starts with understanding. When the Bible talks about in Acts 2:4, all of them was filled with the Holy Ghost. I was raised up Pentecostal, Old Baptist.
Same here.
And
yes.
Non-apostolic stuff.
All
of them talk about, hey, you cannot enter into the kingdom unless you receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. With the evidence of speaking in tongues.
Right.
That's language.
That's language, right.
The Bible is telling us we need a language. This language that is what Holy Ghost means, set apart, spirit is good disposition. So that's a mental disposition that I need to have that sets me apart. When I get that disposition, I begin to speak with other tongues, meaning I understand the language. Once I understand it, I start to understand, as I talk about it in my book, grammar, grammalia, and grammar tools. We all speaking what I call Samuel Witwicky from the movie Transformers.
Right.
Samuel means blind, L means God, Witwicky means witch, wicked. Which is English or English, which is a dumbed down language. We have the wrong language. Well, that's where we are approaching or we're approving or pointing to the wrong God, which leads us to a wrong, I wouldn't say wrong, I just would say a different salvation. Because when we're talking about salvation, brother, we were talking about something that allows you to have eternal life.
Right.
A salamander, brother, if they lose a limb, it goes back. There's something called swing receptors, that will regrow the nerves inside of your teeth. Stem cells also will regrow teeth.
It's true.
The word qatar, if you look it up, as I've asked all my listeners, go to Matthew, any book in the New Testament, look at the word father, it says qatar, and underneath that it says generator. That means
right.
It says progenitor. According to biology, progenitor cells only produce after their own kind. That's why Yahushua said, I only came for the lost sheep of the house of
Israel.
Right. For the tribe of Judah. And so when I talk to real staunch Christians, I agree with everything they say because everything they're saying is a truth. It's just not
the truth. Yeah.
So it's a matter of changing the language. Then people start to understand the message.
Dr. Will, just to interject, everything you're saying is a mouthful. It's I want to talk about language for a second, and I'm glad you brought that up because, first of all, we need to understand that all the Bible is written in quantum parsec syntax, which is a language or a code of language that means it has words that have hidden, which means you can't read the Bible on the surface. And the fact that remains is the fact that we read here in this country, mostly in the Western world, we're reading from an English point of view, which is one of the absolute worst languages if you want to get an understanding about anything, because it's not really a language. It's a hybrid of about 13 languages. And if you're going to go back to the understanding of what this language is, you have to go back to the original languages. And I'm glad you brought up about the ancient Sumerian texts and the Phoenician texts, because English does not give the value or the understanding that any of these ancient texts were written in, because the Bible is almost like a tapestry or a hodgepodge from many ancient texts that were written way before the construction of the Bible. So if you're going to get a full understanding, you can't read it from an English standpoint. You can't read it from standpoint of understanding modern Western grammar, which has only been developed over the past couple hundred years. What would you say to that?
You hit the nail on the head right there, brother, because at the end of the day, we have a, I'm using the word watered down for lack of a better term, not trying to offend anybody, because I have a lot of family members, man, that are still really, deep in the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
I can choose over tradition any day.
Right.
And if we are honest, we do have to go back and realize that the worst language we got, English is like painting with one color.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Greek is like painting with 3 or 4 colors. Hebrew is like painting with 5 or 6 colors.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's other uniform texts, there's other hieroglyphics, there's other texts. But they got stuff better than the Vatican that we probably have used.
Oh, of course. Yeah. You won't find it.
So we're trying to make a conclusion and come to an understanding, and we don't have all the evidence. We don't have all the information by which to basically come to that conclusion. And so language is so important because, as you know, brother, when we talk right now, I'm saying certain words. I can say the word right, and depending on the context, I could be saying W-R-I-T.
That's right.
Or I could be saying R-I-T.
R-I-T, yeah.
Or I could be saying
G-H-T.
R-I-G-H-T.
That's right.
And there's a lot of words in the English language, and words establishes worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Not only W-O-R-L-U-S, but W-H-I-R-L-S.
Yes.
Those are our chakra systems.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way we have these 7 chakra systems that line up with the 7 colors in the rainbow, that line up also with the 7 colors that when you shine white light through a prism, it bends and fractures and produces what we call hue.
That's right.
I talked about on many of my shows, the word human is only mentioned in the Bible once.
Mm-hmm.
It's talking about a spiritual monster. So when you call yourself a human, your death is a language that is designed to dumb you down so that way you cannot perceive the deeper truths. And so I try to challenge listeners to really start looking at this dumbed down language that we have, because English is, I cannot sit there and tell you that I wish I was, really fluent in, Greek or Hebrew,
right.
or, Arabic, or some of the, even Latin. But I'm not. I have to depend upon these resources that I use, and thank God for technology, because we're able to pull up things and we can look up
That's right.
in other language to assist us. But the word language, as I've said on many of my shows, L-A-N means monster that protects noble one.
Mm.
U means the god of war, and age means the period of time, or the aeon on the zodiac scale.
That's right.
So language is something to like a Tower of Babel. If you read that text,
that's good.
Says that they were on one accord and one language, and there was nothing that they could not accomplish
until their languages got confused.
So the Old Testament came down
Mm-hmm.
and introduced this thing called language, and that produced something called confusion.
That's right. Well, that's one of the things that English has done. It's a language built on trickery. It's one of the only languages where you have what they call homonyms. You just mentioned that, how you have the word right that can be spelled about 4 different ways and have all those different meanings. Every other language is very direct. It's very black and white. It's straightforward. It's either negative or positive. English is built around trickery, and that's the language that's being pushed all across the world as being a standard language. Because you see what they're trying to do with that, behind it. It's coded. So just go more into what you were saying earlier about the whole understanding of what true salvation really is. Is it really built around a confession within the heart? Or is this a mentality? Is this consciousness of awareness? Is this an oath that needs to be taken? What is salvation coming from?
Great question, brother, because true salvation comes from a embedding, and it is called imploding of the heart. Meaning that the heart can actually measure, there's a machine that can actually measure electronically whether you're what we call saved or not. Because the word salvation comes from the word salve, S-A-L-V-E.
Yes.
It has to do with a ointment or something that's put over
or eyes.
wound.
Yeah.
And that word salve leads to another word called salvage, S-A-L-V-A-G, V-G-E, however you say it, salvage. And salvage leads to salvation. And so when we talk about salvation, we're talking about a work of the heart. We're talking about something that happens inside of your heart. And that thing that should happen, and before I even say that, because for me it's not a either or. I said already, man, you want to hang on to what you got, that's great. Because you would tell me about, we talk about prayer a lot.
Right.
You get on your knees and you can pray, but when you get up, then there has to be a mental disposition that is, the Bible talks about praying without ceasing. And so when I share with my group, I don't know how that is done. Same thing with salvation. There's nothing wrong with going through if you want to go up there and be spoken to. I can't find that scripture nowhere. I think it was Charles Finney or
yeah.
the Great Awakening who developed this whole thing of what we call the altar call.
Yep.
I can't find that nowhere else in the scripture.
But we carry on these traditions and we don't know where they came from.
For me, brother, it's simply what I did on January 1st of 2009. Before that, I had a counterfeit conversion. And how do I know that? Because I had no clue. And you said something when we were discussing and talking privately.
Yes.
You said that you turned your back on, the Bible says it too, that any man that wishes to find his life must lose his life.
That's right.
And something happened in your life, brother, where you said, something not right.
Right.
I may not know what it is, but you put in a lot of effort. You was for real. You was 100%. I don't know why anybody else was. I was for real, man.
Oh, absolutely.
And I gave money, time, energy, effort.
Right.
And nothing changed. So I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now, salvation is when you see that this system that we're in, something's wrong. You may not know exactly what it is, but
big time.
You're not fighting this BS no more. You really realize that, man, no disrespect, speaking in tongues, shouting, turning over chairs, all that good stuff. But that, again, that doesn't translate over into a productive, at least according to my definition of a productive life. And so salvation is a changing of the heart. It's a biological process that can be measured. Where your actual heart chakra, your heart, starts to emit something that is way different than anything that anybody else can measure. And again, we call it love, and you can slice it and dice it, and it's so simple that most people miss it. And so when I talk about it, I like to talk about it from a biological perspective, because that part of the biology that takes place cannot be, how can I say this, debated.
No.
They call it that you call your nuclear force. Again, having your nuclear factors. It's basically, if I was to measure and put your brain on a, like an MRI, an EKG machine, an ECG machine, or any kind of an electromagnetic device, when you are in a state of fear, it's going to show that your amygdala and the hypothalamus
That's
are
right.
activated.
Yes.
You're producing cortisol. You have tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
You have fight, flight, or freeze, which is one that everybody leaves out. So you are only using 10% of your brain. That's why everything on this earth is designed to keep you in a state of fear.
That's right.
When your amygdala is forward, you're releasing all of the good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin,
melatonin, right?
Endorphins, all of these feel-good chemicals. Now you've activated the cranial cortex and the neocortex, the frontal lobe, and you've activated your third eye, which again, your pineal gland has the optical. This just blows my mind because it's just like it has the same rods and cones as your physical eye, but it's in the center of your skull. That's
right.
On.
Yeah.
You can measure all of this. And Dr. Bruce Lipton, talks about this about the book of biology of Bruce Lee. Greg Braden talks about it in his stuff, and all of these sciences now, with technology and science, you can tell if someone is going to what I call exist past physical death. And even that should be, as you said, death was your sting, grave was your victory.
Yes.
The only reason we die is because we have something called telomeres, which is the exact same, the Greek word telos, which is for the English word perfect. And be perfect, for I am perfect.
Yeah.
That Greek word, the English word perfect, Greek word telos is almost spelled the same as the English word telomere, which is a cap on the top of our DNA, just like I put a cap on a jug of water. If I remove that cap off the jug or the bottle of water and turn it upside down, all the water spills out. But as long as that cap is on that bottle of water and I turn it upside down, shake it, do whatever, the water stays in the jug. And some genetic engineers wrote a code. They put a button. I would put a computer virus right now on a computer, but it would operate as efficiently as it's designed.
No.
We are all, and we alive. We're all.
Well, that's what religion does. It creates a virus. That's right.
I'm not buying it, that's not my original design.
No.
So I'm just trying to go back to salvation. Salvation is like Yeshua said. He had a glorified body. It said that we don't know what we shall be, but we shall be like him. That's my goal. I know everybody's saying, I'm waiting for death. I'm going to go to heaven. I'm here right now, but
right.
I'm not trying to identify. I'm going to transition. Energy is not created or destroyed.
That's right.
It just changes form. And so when we think to these words, in the Greek it talks about metamorpho. In English is metamorphosis. And I challenge everybody, you know the word metamorphosis. You go to dictionary.com right now and type in and change or transform by witchcraft.
Yes.
Go look at the word grammar in English. What it means. It has to do with witchcraft.
And that's why they have spelling bees. Yeah, spells, all of that stuff is dealing with witchcraft. It really is.
Traditional Christians, they don't know they're witches and witches. And yeah, so that would get you in trouble if you make that statement.
Oh yeah. Well, see, the problem is, they don't understand or a lot of what's being taught. It comes from a pagan practice. And many times, the traditions that we hold on to, we don't understand that they were developed in pagan practices, and also the things that they call witchcraft is done right in front of their face, and they don't even know it. Witchcraft is a very thin line. You talk about witchcraft. I think the only idea of witchcraft they have is maybe people holding up skulls or drinking up chicken blood or something like that, and performing voodoo spells on them with dolls or something like that. But it's more than that. It's witchcraft is very subtle. It's stuff that can be done right up under your nose where you don't even know it.
Man, I have a book called, A Christian Safety. And I had no idea all the license and all things. Minister.
Yep.
A lot of my, more so in the beginning, not so many now. But when I first started, most of my clients were witches and Satanists who were trying to transition out of that that Christianity wasn't it, at least this version in it. Because if you go to Titus 3, it talks about Christians. They were war
That's right.
So
Yeah.
Christians, I don't want to be no war idiot.
Mm-mm.
I want to go that label because labels are limit. I'm trying to limit
No.
myself. I want to.
That's right.
I want to express, expose, and explain myself. And I learned more from the dark side than I ever did from the light. The dark side had me deceived. That I got a call from this one brother man, and I was in California. He called me Beelzebub.
Right.
That's why you don't sleep at night.
Right.
How do you know I don't sleep at night? You care about your speech, you talk about my aura, my cheek, how you read people, just by looking at photographs, by picking up that pixel count, all of this stuff, all the stuff that I teach brothers. I learned this stuff from on my way. Satan there too. They told me in the church they don't talk to those people, man.
Right.
And I found out I was one of them. They told me I was one of them. Because
wow.
they was conjuring up demons with the same name. You know, when somebody else got
Yeah.
I mean, we could really.
Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. There's a lot of the things and names that we have called and attributed to what we call God is not his name. It never said it was his name, and that's a false understanding of that. Because you think about it. Okay, you're talking about the universal God, the Most High, whom we don't know anything about what its gender is, whether it even has a gender, because it's supposed to be totally understood as spirit. So why we try to classify the Most High into a personification of our human understanding, whether we want to say he's man or female or whatever. There's different religions that call him either gender, and that's wrong. That's actually more blasphemous than some of the things they say in church that is blasphemous, because you're trying to encase an eternal spiritual entity being that controls everything into what your understanding of a gender is, and that's wrong. And we call him, we call him all the names, all the L's. L comes from Saturn, and that has more to do with Satan than anything. We give these names and tribute to God. It's a funny question I asked some people, like, okay, yeah, so God came down and told you what his name was personally, huh? He just said, oh, hi, I'm God, or I'm whatever the names that you give me. He told you personally, so that's his name.
Yeah, brother. Man, brother, I mean, when we start talking about the current system that we have, that's based upon the electoral college,
yes,
the election, we go to Elohim, we go to the polls. Polls is P-O-L-E-S, or is it P-O-L-L-S?
P-O-L-L-S, right.
Positive and negative, positive and negative, and so we go to vote. That's they're like saying V-O-L-T instead of V-O-T-E.
Right.
Vote. And so it's all about controlling our electricity, So we are biological, electrical, chemical beings. So I just did a 7-hour series on neural chemistry. Well, I was breaking down how our electrons, if you, from a biological perspective, if you remove an electron from an atom, the atom turns into basically back into gas. Meaning,
that's right.
Hydrogen is a gas. Oxygen is a gas. You combine them two together, you get a liquid.
That's right.
Called water. Now, brother, I mean, that blows my mind because
of course
we got two gases. How do we get liquid?
Yeah.
From those two gases coming together. And then another thing that blows my mind, when I was really studying under Dr. Gabriel, he should have won the Nobel Peace Prize, man, for his work on GAGU, which is the God Almighty Grand Unification Theorem. GAGUT. I talk about this inside my book, Being God. And it's a mind blower, brother, because, man, I mean, the fact that he's a black Nigerian might be helping his efforts, but the brother breaks down something that is profound. I wish I had this in high school. Every element on the periodic table is the manipulation of one element.
That's right. Yes.
If you go to Google, your favorite search engine, and type it in, and you look at gold, you look at platinum, you look at any element, and you look at the word element. Like the word
L, yeah.
Which is again God. And so we're talking about what has happened is a switch that he talks about, which is basically how witch and switch is add the S.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happened. And brother, we got language. We don't know what, but it should be W-A-T-T, not W-H-A-T.
Right.
Our what are being manipulated or dumbed down or dimmed down so that way we don't have no enlightenment. We're not enlightened. Our light is not on. And so for me, I had to flip what they in the biological sense. I had to get out of my reptile brain and free up, fun, fighting, and effort. You know, procreate.
Yeah, I got you. Right. Right.
Appreciate that. And you know, hey, your work you don't need. You know, eye for an eye, 2 for 2.
Yes.
That's polarity. I spent a lot of years doing that. Then I finally graduated into the neo brain, and the word neo, which is the third level brain is spelled N-E-O. One of them, so boy, was really actually not Martha, but Miss Stewart, who I actually had on my show way back, who wrote the Matrix. If you turn over,
yeah.
You got one. And so the neo, that just means new, and then cortex means covenant. And so, which is an agreement, which is our understanding. Right. And so for me, brother, it's all about getting out of this dumbed down strongman language that we have. It's part of this united corporation or this united, which we group, states, group dispositions. Dispositions does not work for demons. And so we got a bunch of demons who united. That's what the word United States means.
Yes.
And removing ourselves, not physically. I got people say, yeah, no, so you want to go back to Africa? No, brother. Everything I'm talking about is metaphysical. Because your mentality controls reality. It's an understanding, man, that if you want to change your world, my whole world changed, brother, when I started changing what I call my negative habit pattern. Church calls it sin. Sine wave, S-I-N-E. So it's cyclical. It goes up, it goes down.
That's right.
It's got 4 seasons. But there are higher laws that override these lower laws. And I remember that because back when I was a cop. So you got local, state ordinances, you got, local municipal ordinances, you got state laws, but then you got
federal laws, right.
So I'm trying to operate on the highest level because those laws supersede lower laws. Those laws are love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, self-control. Against such things,
there is no law. That's right.
That's what it says in the Bible. And a lot of people have a problem understanding that. But I always remember seeing that movie Interstellar. It was talking about love as a frequency, a wave or a vibration. This is the all-nickel temper stuff of understanding how frequencies work. And so, brother, we can talk about words, but I talk about vibration. So I know
vibration is important.
I listen to what people say. I listen to how people make me feel. I listen to their frequency, their wave. I can pick up the vibe. So you can say you love me with your mouth, but your vibe is saying, yeah, me go turn your back. And so I can pick that up. And so that's understanding charge. And charge is what it's all about, brother. It's all about the charge. And interesting, we have credit cards.
Yes.
That we can charge.
Yep.
To show that you did talk about money and all, the different, straw man and this fiat currency and all.
That's right.
This craziness that the average citizen knows nothing about.
No, they don't.
Certificate, security card, and this whole system that we're in. So salvation to me is recognizing this system is the world. So we are in this world, but we're not of this.
Not of it.
We're in the system, so we're not of the system. So I've created some different systems because systems are patterns and patterns are power.
Yes. So, Dr. Will, in our last, got about like 10, 15 minutes left. What would you say to the person that says, okay, I'm at a point in my life, I'm tired of the traditional church understanding. I know there's more to understanding God than this. I need more. I go to church. I've been going to church for the last 30, 40 years of my life. I haven't learned anything more than what I've learned in Sunday school since I was a kid. It's the same rehashed stuff over and over again. I need more. What can a person do without being so frustrated to the point where they become an atheist?
Wow, brother, what I do, man, is that people are frustrated and angry because they have patterns that don't work.
Yes, that's number one.
That don't produce results. I call it IMRs, immediate measurable results.
Mm-hmm.
And in my life management system, but I developed 4 areas: a system for wealth, a system for health,
Mm-hmm.
a system for wisdom, and a system for relationships.
Okay.
And I tell everybody flat out, when it comes to different systems, for example, I can look at you, and not to say anything there, but like right now, if I was to ask you, how well are you doing financially
Mm-hmm.
from this show? Not your outside stuff.
Right.
What revenue are you generating from this show? What would be your answer?
Oh, not enough.
Exactly, brother. And so what I encourage people to do is to don't change nothing that you're doing.
Okay.
Look at the system that you're in and maximize it or monetize it. And I ask you one question: what do you see? Everybody, brother, can see something that I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And you got talent and you got gifts, brother. If I'm sitting in the church and I look at churches, I'm dumbfounded.
Mm-hmm.
You got anywhere from 10, 20, 30. Some churches got 100. Some churches got like TV Jakes and $couple dollars.
Yeah.
They got hundreds or thousands of members.
That's right.
Those churches are in a position they should be changing the globe.
Mm-hmm.
You need 10 people in with who throw everybody throwing $100, man. I can do some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm saying, brother, is salvation, religion, all of this stuff is at the end of the day, what your belief system is. If you're in a relationship with somebody and your belief system cannot help you see the error in why your relationship is not working, so you can make a decision to put in more effort to make that relationship work. Cut to the chase, brother. If I'm married,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling my wife, I was talking to a client the other day. So the Bible says husbands love their wives. Wives respect your husband.
Right.
Everybody I know in a relationship, they talk about trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think that scripturally I can't find that nowhere. Trust is good, don't get me wrong, but trust doesn't make a relationship work.
Right.
I can be with you and don't trust you. Husbands have to love their wives. Then we get into the definition
Yes.
of the word love.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can say it, but what does it mean?
What does it mean?
And then it's interesting, talk about respect.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't tell the wives to love their husband.
Doesn't tell them that. Don't say that nowhere. It does. You're right. It doesn't say that anywhere. It just says respect. That it doesn't say for the wives to love their husbands.
Exactly, brother. And the reason why, brother, is that I get my work in value
Mm-hmm.
from respect.
Yes.
I don't know what I can't explain it, but my wife looks at me and respects me as a man, respects me as what I do, how I bring in revenue. If I let a woman that don't respect me, she doesn't, but she don't respect me.
The love don't mean nothing. No. Yeah, that's right.
And that's in the area of relationships, and it's the same thing in the area of wisdom. And wisdom is like, people throw me away with this, man. The Bible talks about it in the Second Thessalonians, where it said that God himself will see a strong delusion.
Yep.
It's
one of my favorite ones.
Mm-hmm. That just means objectivity.
Matter of fact, he said he would. Matter of fact,
now.
Right.
And I say something that you don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
If you start calling me the N-word, you talk about my mama,
right.
you talk about my name, you cannot you tell me you are an individual that has awareness, consciousness, and you're part of a conscious community. You know, you consider yourself somebody that I'm just educated, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And you don't have the ability to observe without judgment, just simply listen. Even if we disagree, we should be able to agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
But
that's right.
if you go to a traditional church where people have been saved for 30 years,
mm-hmm.
if I say something
that
man couldn't be Jesus because there was no J's,
right.
They don't want to try to say no.
You'll be excommunicated.
I already know there is no truth in that establishment.
Mm-hmm.
Because by definition of the word, from the book that they believe, they'll violate their own definition.
Their own definition, that's right.
That's your God. That's not a difference I gave. That's the God. Right in the book, when you say you worship.
Right.
So when I talk to Christians, I use the Bible to be there to destroy their religion.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to atheists, I use the Bible. I want to do this and I'm trying to express the importance of having systems that work.
Yes.
Because I'm talking to somebody that's sort of, and no disrespect to anybody, man. That's each his own.
Absolutely.
But if you go to the LGBT, but I'm talking to somebody, brothers, our brother, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just talk about biology. I just talk about that carry, that area. It's an exit area. It's not an entry point. It's an exit. So and that's biologically speaking. No scriptures move it. If I'm talking to a Satanist, I don't think they don't put no value in the Bible, so I'm not going to quote no scriptures to them. I'm going to use biology and explain to them that there is something called corpus callosum that is right between the middle of your brain that stores what's called cognitive dissonance only when the amygdala is turned forward, meaning that you're operating what the Bible calls a human spirit.
Wow.
Now, I can use biology and prove the existence of what you call Christ based upon, again, this colostrum that is released, this what the Bible calls about the land flowing with milk and honey.
Yes. It's in the brain. Yes, absolutely.
Good brother Santos
Bonacci. Santos Bonacci. I know what you're talking about.
Other people who saying the same thing.
Yes.
That talks about the fact that the Bible is way more than what we have. I'm going to use the word dumbed it down to.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely is. And like I said before, if you stop reading it like a Disney story and look at the words and actually study it, there's a scripture in there that even says, study to show yourself approved. And, studying doesn't just mean reading a couple paragraphs. It means you got to dig into that stuff and break down the words and get behind the words and the meanings behind the words in order to get a pure understanding that Spirit will give to you. One of the things I like the way you mentioned about the elements and how biologically Christ can be proven in the body. We talk about the numbers 33, about him being 33 years old. That's really esoterically talking about the 33 vertebrae that go up the spine, which is that fluid that you're talking about, the colostrum, not the colostrum, but the what is the name of the fluid you just said that rises up to the brain into the cortex?
Oh, yeah, you got the CFF.
Yes.
The cerebral.
Yes.
It
rises up those 33 vertebrae, which is indicative of the 33 years that is taught that he spent on Earth. That's what that's talking about, and that fluid rising up to the spinal cortex or cerebral cortex, which is part of in the back of the brain, the medulla oblongata, that is talking about the holies of holies. That's we could do a whole nother broadcast on that about biology as it relates to the spirit in the body.
Absolutely, brother. Man, you hit the nail on the head, man. But when you're talking about the rebirth, your cerebral spinal cord, how it climbs up to 33 vertebrae.
Yes.
Which is like take this ladder and then reach with the 12 gland.
Oh, yeah.
Which represents 12 disciples.
12 disciples.
Which is our biological resurrection. So your central nervous system responds when that happens to give you or to activate or give you again what we call salvation or illumination or understanding. So it activates the crown chakra. So all of this, brother, is again information that was lost.
Yes.
And once we are able to kind of go back, and I talk about this in one of my other books as well. And I talk about the temple is the body.
Yeah.
And our temple creates a toroidal-shaped energy where it comes out the head, goes, flows out the head, and comes back up to your feet.
Yes.
I talk about toroidal energy. I talk about scalar energy because the body is the Bible. And the Bible is the body.
Is the body, right?
So anything that I need to learn about the Bible, I can learn in my body. Anything
That's
I
good.
want to learn about my body, I can learn from the Bible. So I have all the different out of my book, The Biology of the Temple. Because many of us, man, especially within the African American community, I don't know about you, brother, but I was young. I was in school, man. I was a girl, brother. I was paying attention to biology class.
Right.
Math, none of that stuff. It wasn't until I got out, got older and realized that I used to learn a little something.
Yes.
That I got into studying. Then when I realized that, hey, I wasn't making no money. And also, more importantly, my life, my relationships was whack. My diet, my nutrition was whack. Everything that I was doing, I come on to church every day, sitting on the front row, giving all my money, but my life wasn't changing.
Wow.
And so I knew that that was a pattern. And it's interesting, brother, because with all my clients, everyone I talk to, the moment that people say all the time, but I got it all together. And so the moment I ask you to go from happy to happier, from happier to happiest, that's the moment what we call excuse will come up. It's in the form of a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Religion is a coping mechanism. That's all it is.
It is.
That's why the word religion is the
Absolutely.
word rely on.
Yes.
To rely upon a system outside so that when you go to work, they treat you like trash on your job, but you ain't going to quit.
Not going to quit.
So that we gotta cope with that job on Monday.
It is a coping system.
But after 10, 15, 20, 30 years,
yeah.
hanging on, brother,
yeah.
the best is coming, and coping with the guy that calls you boys and treats you like you lose slave. After 30 years of that, brother, I don't know about you, but I have no.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And that was the greatest decision that I ever made, brother, because it totally transformed my life.
Wow. Wow. Powerful stuff. Dr. Will, we definitely are out of time, but we don't have enough time. This could be, we could go on for another 3-4 hours, man, and just still be starting. This is definitely not the last time we're going to have you on Freedom Troop Radio Show. I'm so grateful and thankful that you agreed to come on and share your time. I know it's valuable. You have a family, and I know you're always writing books and putting new information out. Why don't you just tell the people before you get off the phone how they can get a hold of you and where your website is? I did post it up, but just so they can hear it from you, and talk about some of the classes that you have available on your site.
Absolutely, brother. Again, thank you so much, man. That's an opportunity to be on your platform, man. It's so important, brother. I mean, to me, nothing matters more than connecting people with this, what I call Wi-Fi, instead of Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi is important, but once you get into the biological internet,
yeah,
that's going to allow you to connect.
Oh, yeah.
Get like a quantum computer, to go off the planet, and
yes.
get in contact with what I call the big G, the real God, not the little one that's on this planet.
Right.
The big one that actually have systems that work. So I would encourage, man, that anybody that's listening that got, I don't think that's part of the area of wealth, health, wisdom, or relationship. There is a system. There are a way by which you can organize, you can systematize, and then you can scale or basically grow. And that's all I do, brother. I would like to extend the same offer to any of your listeners. Anybody email me and let me know that
absolutely.
You listen to it comes with 50. I've written about 60 books. 50 of them are included in this. I've also done over 2,000 videos, 300 over 5,000 audio shows.
Wow.
I've been doing this for a while, brother.
Yeah.
And so 355 of the best shows that I've done are put into 7 modules. And my current students, I did after talking with them, one of the things that we did, brother, is moving too fast past the ruling disposition, what the Bible calls a strong man.
Yeah.
Nobody can go into a man's house and
find the strong man. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And so that negative habit pattern, man, a lot of my current clients, they're great, man, they're doing good, but when it comes time to implement, it's like, they got something, and that's what I call that ego, flesh. And so that, brother, is what we deal with. I got a whole system, man, that I call behavioral claronomics, which the word claronomics is 2 words, claros from the Bible and economics from the world.
Wow.
And claros just has to do with the household management of the soul. It's how you manage your mind, will, emotions, imagination, and intellect. And so, man, that's included in those 7 modules. You also get the 600-page Gibson report. So we didn't talk about tonight, man, which is my great brother.
Oh, wow.
One of my mentors was Dr. Miles Rowe, just recently.
Oh, yes, yeah. Awesome teacher.
We talked about where purpose is not known,
mm-hmm.
inevitable. I was a young man, brother. I would be dead in prison right now if it wasn't for Dr. Miles Rowe.
Yeah.
Also, Dr. LaSalle Vaughn, my pastor that was here in San Antonio, who was very instrumental in helping me to understand that I was just like a cancer cell. So I developed a 600-page dear community report that is way more than just a personality test, but it's based upon your blood, the ley lines of your birth to establish, again, your genetic code, or what is called a codex in the side of your DNA. So that whole system for the sales for $5,000, having a sale for $1,000, it ended on November the 15th. But I'm saying that so that anybody that's listening for me,
sure.
We do monthly payments as well. But I want to offer to your listeners as well, brother. Anybody else who want to jump on it, again, normally it sells for $5,000 available, and we'll keep it at that price for another day or 2.
Good.
For any listeners that's listening to me tonight.
That's great. That's great. And your website is masterteacher33.com. Get on over there. Check on Dr. Will's books and check out some of his systems. If you feel something that you can use to help you get out of the systematic thinking of religion and bondage, check out some of his stuff. It's really good. With all that in mind, Dr. Will, we're going to sign off, and we're definitely going to have you back on the show again in another month or 2, and we'll be in touch. Thank you again for coming on and being a part of Freedom Truth Radio Show.
Thank you very much again, my brother, for having me, man. I definitely appreciate that, brother. Again, thank you very much.
All right. Good night to you.
Good night, my brother.
Yeah, you're clear.
All right.
Ooh, what a show. Awesome show.
Yeah.
You are clear. Clear on there. Clear on Facebook.
Nice.